I never thought I'd be the guy posting my story like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I'm just trying to get this off my chest because I honestly don't know what to do anymore. My wife Lisa and I have been together for about 8 years. We seemed solid, or so I thought. She's always been a fiery, bitchy kind of girl, sharp-tongued and quick to dismiss anyone she didn't care for. But behind all that, I believed there was a kind of loyalty, a real connection. At least I did. Things started feeling off about 4 months ago. She was more distant, less affectionate, and got really defensive whenever I brought up simply spending time together. It was like pulling teeth. She would brush me off, tell me I was overthinking, that work was just busy, or that I was being paranoid. But I noticed subtle things. Her phone always on silent, her hiding her texts, even her emails. I didn't want to push because honestly I hate accusations without proof. Still, something was definitely wrong. Then it got worse. She started coming home late from work more often, not just late but hours after she'd supposedly left the office. Her excuses were flimsy. She had to stay late for some project. She was in a meeting. She was grabbing drinks with colleagues. I knew she liked to drink, but this was different. Sometimes she'd be drunk when she got home, which was rare before. I'd catch her slurring her words, or she'd be jittery like she'd been on edge. I'd ask her about it and she'd just roll her eyes, call me paranoid again, say I was insecure, that I didn't trust her. I wanted to trust her, really, I did. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. I even noticed her phone kept ringing late at night, messages coming through that she quickly deleted after reading. It was a game I knew I shouldn't be playing, but I felt like I was losing my mind. Then one afternoon, I decided to check her email. Stupid, I know. I was just trying to see if there was any work-related stuff or anything that could explain her weird behavior. I snuck into her laptop while she was out, and that's when I found it. An email from someone named Jason, a name I recognized because I'd recently started collaborating with a new client at work. But the email was not about work. It was about her and Jason hooking up, making plans, joking about how they couldn't keep their hands off each other. The subject line was "Can't wait to see you tonight." That hit me like a truck. My stomach dropped. My mind raced. I felt a mix of disbelief, anger, and a deep, cold betrayal I'd never experienced before. Jason was a big-name competitor I'd been working with on a joint project, someone I had trusted, someone I'd even been considering bringing into our business for real. All the while, she was sleeping with him behind my back. I scrolled through more emails, more texts, more messages, proof after proof that her infidelity wasn't some slip-up but a full-blown affair. And she had been lying to my face all this time. I kept calm that night, but inside I was boiling. I couldn't sleep. I kept going over everything in my head, how she'd lied, how she'd betrayed me. I wondered how long this had been going on, how many nights she'd been sneaking around, how many times she'd told me she loved me while she was cheating with a rival. I felt numb and furious all at once. The worst part, she still acted like she was innocent when I confronted her. She was bitchy, dismissive, and kept lying, insisting she didn't know what I was talking about, that I was crazy, that it was just a work thing, that I was imagining things. That's when I realized I was in a storm I couldn't control. I knew I had to figure out what to do, but I wasn't ready to decide just yet. I needed some time, some space to process everything. But deep down, I knew my world was shattered. I was married to someone who'd been lying to me every day, betraying me with my professional rival, someone I trusted implicitly. It felt like a betrayal that cut so deep I didn't know if I could ever come back from it. After discovering everything, I couldn't just sit around and do nothing. The first thing I did was go to my office, where I had the email open on my phone, staring at it like some horrible secret. I didn't want to believe it at first. I kept telling myself, maybe it was just a joke, maybe some kind of mistake. But no, everything fit too perfectly. The timing, the tone, the way she avoided my questions. She was hiding something, and now I knew exactly what it was. I didn't confront her that night. I needed to think. I spent the hours pacing my apartment, hands trembling, trying to make sense of what I'd uncovered. My mind kept circling back to her bitchy attitude, her sneers, her dismissiveness. All that rage and contempt she threw at me, and underneath it all she was out there, sleeping with someone else. Someone I was supposed to be working with, trusting to build something good, and she was using that to hide her fucking affair. The next day, I decided I couldn't just pretend it didn't happen, so I set up a plan. I knew she'd deny everything if I confronted her directly, so I needed something more concrete. I started digging into Jason's background, just to see if anything was obvious. Nothing obvious at first, just a few social media posts, mutual friends, work connections. But then I stumbled upon something that made my blood boil even more. I found that Jason had been secretly emailing Lisa from a different account under the guise of work, and those emails were just as explicit as hers. They'd been talking about meeting up, about their plans, about their sex life, details too personal to ignore. That's when I decided I'd have enough evidence to really take action. My goal was clear. I wanted her to admit everything, and if she didn't, I'd have the proof I needed to end it for good. I started recording her phone calls when she was out, sneaking into her email accounts, saving screenshots of the messages. I wasn't proud of it, but I was furious and hurt. I'd trusted her with everything, and she'd thrown it all away for some guy she probably barely knew. One afternoon, I confronted her. I waited until she came home late after her meeting, and I caught her in the act, her phone buzzing with another message from Jason. I showed her what I had and told her I knew everything. Her reaction was priceless. Her face twisted into a mixture of rage, denial, and contempt. She tried to lie, of course. Said Jason was just a coworker, that I was crazy, that I was paranoid. She called me clueless and said I was overreacting, that she didn't owe me explanations, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I had all the proof, that I wasn't going to sit around and get played for a fool. The moment I showed her the screenshots, she broke down for the first time, her bitchy mask slipping just enough to reveal how much she'd been lying. She spat out some bullshit about how she was unhappy, how I didn't give her enough attention, how it just happened, and she insisted it was a mistake, like that made it okay. But I knew better. I knew this wasn't some slip-up. It was deliberate, planned, and ongoing. That night was the worst. She kept yelling, crying, trying to twist everything around, making herself the victim. Her words were sharp. You're just jealous. You're control freak. You're overreacting because you're insecure. Every time she lied or denied, I felt this crushing wave of disappointment and anger. How could someone I loved do this to me? How did I not see it coming? I'd been so blind, so trusting. The emotional impact hit me hard. I went from feeling numb to feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I was furious, hurt, humiliated, and above all, betrayed. It was like my entire world was crumbling, and all I could do was stand there, listening to her blame me for her own shit. I realized I was angry at myself for giving her the benefit of the doubt for so long, angry at her for being so damn bitchy, and for hiding everything behind that tough exterior. And most of all, I was devastated that the woman I thought I knew was actually just a manipulative, unfaithful bitch who'd been screwing around with my biggest competitor. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, her lies, her sneers, the way she tried to manipulate me. I felt betrayed, yes, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. Now I knew exactly what I was dealing with. I was angry at her, but I also felt a strange relief that I finally had the truth. Maybe now I could figure out what to do next, but one thing was clear. My trust was shattered, and I'd have to rebuild my life from the ground up. The next morning I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was racing, but there was a strange clarity underneath it all. I knew I couldn't stay in this limbo anymore. The betrayal was too raw, too real. I'd spent the night debating whether I should confront her again, try to get her to confess, or just pack my shit and walk away. Honestly, part of me wanted to see her squirm, see her try to come up with some new lie. But I also knew that wouldn't change anything. The truth was out, and I couldn't pretend I was okay with it anymore. I decided I needed to plan my next move carefully. I couldn't let her see that I was broken, at least not yet. I spent the morning gathering some more evidence, just to be sure I had everything. I wanted everything documented, screenshots, saved emails, recordings. I even made a mental note to talk to a lawyer, just in case. I didn't know what her next move would be, but I knew I needed to be prepared. When she finally came home that afternoon, she was her usual bitchy self, snapping at me for no reason, trying to act like nothing was wrong. It was infuriating. I kept my cool, though. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing how much she'd hurt me. Instead, I just sat her down and told her I knew everything. I laid out the evidence I'd collected, piece by piece. Her face went pale but then quickly turned into her usual sneer. She said I was crazy, that I was jealous, that I was making it all up. I looked her right in the eyes and told her I wasn't crazy, that I had proof she couldn't deny. Her excuses started flying. She said Jason was just a friend, that they'd never done anything, that I was paranoid, that I was insecure. She claimed she only cheated because I ignored her, that I was a terrible husband. I was boiling inside. How could she be so damn dismissive? How could she lie so effortlessly? That's when I realized that confronting her again was pointless. She was a master at spinning stories and covering her tracks. I decided I had enough. I told her I'd had enough of her bullshit, that I was done pretending everything was fine. I told her I was leaving, not just for today but for good, that I couldn't spend another minute in a relationship where I was being played like a fool. Her reaction was classic. She got bitchy, started crying fake tears, said I was breaking her heart, that she loved me and that she'd do anything to fix this. But I didn't buy it. I could see right through her manipulations now. She was good at pretending to be the victim, but I saw her true face: selfish, manipulative, and unfaithful. That afternoon, I started packing my things. I didn't want to make a scene, but I was furious. I didn't want to stick around and keep pretending I was okay. I knew that leaving was the only way to start healing. At least I hoped so. As I packed, she kept yelling at me, trying to guilt me into staying, calling me all sorts of things: insecure, possessive, jealous. I just shut her out. I knew I'd never trust her again, not after what I had seen. Once I was out of the apartment, it was a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. I was finally free from the lie, but I was also devastated. I felt like I'd lost not just my wife but my whole future. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I believed her when she said she loved me. The betrayal ran so deep I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to look at her the same way again. In that moment, I realized how much I'd trusted her, how much I gave her the benefit of the doubt. And now, that trust was gone. I stayed with a friend for a couple of days while I figured out my next steps. Part of me wanted to fight for the marriage, to keep trying to fix what was broken. But deep down, I knew that wasn't going to be easy or even possible. The damage was too extensive. I was angry, yes, but I was also hurt and confused. I didn't want revenge just for the hell of it. I just wanted to be done with the lies and the bullshit. I needed to figure out what was best for me, to find some kind of peace after all this chaos. After a couple of days of reflection, I realized I couldn't keep living in limbo. The hurt was still raw, but I knew I had to make a decision. Part of me still wanted to fight, to try and salvage whatever was left of us, but every time I thought about her with Jason, I felt sick. The image burned in my mind: their secret meetings, the lies, the betrayal. It wasn't something I could just brush off or forgive overnight. I had to be honest with myself. I deserved better, and I wasn't going to be someone's fallback, their second choice, or their fool. I called a lawyer that evening just to get some legal clarity. Didn't plan on doing anything crazy right away, but I wanted to know my rights, what my options were. The lawyer listened patiently, then told me I could file for separation, or even divorce if I wanted. She also mentioned that I should keep every piece of evidence I had, that it could be useful if we ended up in court. I wasn't planning to go that route unless I had to, but it helped to hear the options. Meanwhile, I also contacted a therapist. I needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't judge me or dismiss what I was going through. Sitting alone with my thoughts was dangerous. I found myself spiraling into anger, sadness, and a sense of worthlessness I'd never experienced before. That therapist helped me see that I wasn't the one who failed. Lisa was the one who chose to betray me. I needed to start focusing on myself, on healing, even if that meant leaving her behind. During this time, I also reached out to a few close friends, guys I trusted, people who had been in similar situations. I told them everything, and honestly their reaction surprised me. Most of them said I was better off without her, that she was a user, a manipulative bitch, and that I deserved someone who actually valued me. It was a small comfort, but it helped me realize I wasn't the bad guy here, no matter how much I blamed myself in the early days. One night, I sat down and wrote her a long message. Not to send, just to get my feelings out. I called her every bad name I could think of, told her how much she'd hurt me, how she'd destroyed our marriage with her lies. I told her I knew she was a bitch, that she was selfish and manipulative, and that I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. It felt good to finally get it all out, even if she never saw it. I wanted her to know exactly how much she'd betrayed me and how badly she'd hurt me. That's when I started to realize that I didn't want her back, not as my wife, not ever. The trust was shattered beyond repair. The woman I once knew was gone, replaced by someone who cheated and lied for her own selfish needs. I had to accept that I was better off walking away. I wasn't going to let her use me or manipulate me anymore. I deserved a life without constant suspicion, without lies, without that gut-wrenching feeling of betrayal every time I looked at her. So I made a plan. I'd talk to her one last time, face to face, and tell her I was done, that I was leaving for good. I didn't want her to think I was weak or that I was giving her another chance. This was my life, and I was taking it back. I wasn't going to be a victim of her manipulations anymore. I needed to cut her out completely for my own sanity and future. When I finally sat her down again, I kept it straightforward. I told her I knew everything, that I was done pretending it was okay, that I was leaving her because I couldn't trust her anymore. Her bitchy attitude returned quickly. She started yelling, crying, throwing accusations. But I just stood there, cold and firm. I told her she had broken everything we had, that I wouldn't be a fool for her again, and that she could keep her lies and her fake tears. I was walking away, and nothing she said would change that. I packed the last of my stuff and left her standing there, furious and helpless. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness, but mostly relief. I finally took control of my life again. I knew it was going to take time to heal. I'd be lying if I said I was over it all. But I also knew I had made the right choice. No more lies, no more betrayal, just me trying to find my way back to some kind of normalcy. It's going to be a long road, but I'd rather walk it alone than be with someone who treated me like dirt. After I left her, everything changed. The apartment felt cold, empty, like a shell of what it used to be. I stayed with a friend for a while, trying to keep my mind busy, but the pain kept creeping back, and no matter what I did, I kept thinking about how I'd poured years into that marriage, how I'd trusted her blindly, only to get nothing but betrayal in return. It was like a punch to the gut every time I remembered her bitchy smirk, her lies, her dismissiveness. Honestly, I felt like I'd been played for a fool, and that shit hurts more than I ever thought it could. I kept replaying everything in my head, her sneer when she thought I was clueless, her excuses, her fake tears. I realized that her manipulations had been so seamless, so well rehearsed, that it took me this long to see through her. She was good at pretending to care, good at lying, good at making herself the victim. But now I'd seen her true face, and I couldn't unsee it. That betrayal had shattered my trust in her entirely, and honestly I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to forgive her, not that I wanted to forgive her. It took some time, but I started to focus on myself. I saw a therapist, talked through all the anger, sadness, and confusion, and slowly I began to heal. I knew I couldn't go back, not now, not ever. Her bitchy attitude, her constant lies, her sneering dismissiveness, they all proved one thing: she wasn't the woman I thought she was. She was selfish, manipulative, and that's not someone I wanted in my life anymore. I realized I deserved someone who was honest, genuine, and who valued me, not someone who played with my feelings like a damn game. One of the hardest parts was facing everyone else. My friends, my family, they all knew something was wrong, but I hadn't told them everything. When I finally opened up, some were shocked, some weren't surprised at all. My brother, for example, called her a bitchy, manipulative snake, which, honestly, I'd never heard him talk like that before. But he was right. I'd been blind to her flaws for too long. Now that I saw her for who she really was, I felt a strange sense of relief, like a huge weight was finally lifting off my shoulders. I also had to deal with the aftermath in my own head. The betrayal made me question everything about myself, my judgments, my trust, my worth. I kept thinking about all the times I ignored the warning signs, all the moments I should have seen through her bullshit but didn't. But I reminded myself, this wasn't my fault. She lied, manipulated, and cheated. That's on her. I don't need to carry her guilt or her shame anymore. I'm starting to see that I was just a victim of her selfishness, and that's a hard pill to swallow but necessary for moving on. As difficult as it was, I made myself focus on the future. I couldn't stay stuck in the past, dwelling on what went wrong. I started going out more, reconnecting with friends, and even thinking about dating again someday, when I was ready. I didn't want to jump into anything right away, but I knew I needed to rebuild my confidence and remember what it felt like to be valued, to be loved. Lisa's betrayal taught me a hard lesson. Never again will I ignore the red flags. Never again will I assume someone's loyalty just because they smile at me. Looking back now, I realize that this whole experience changed me. I'm more cautious, more aware of the warning signs, but also more determined to find happiness and respect in my life. I won't let her betrayal define me, even if it hurt like hell at first. I know I'll be okay, eventually. I just have to keep reminding myself that I deserve better. Her lies, her manipulations, they're a chapter I want to close forever. And honestly, I'm starting to feel stronger, more in control of my own life. That's something I never thought I'd say after everything, but here I am, and I know I'll be fine. Now looking back, I realize that I survived something I never thought I'd have to face. Her betrayal was brutal, no doubt about it. But it also opened my eyes to a lot of truths I was too blind to see before. I learned that trust isn't just given freely, it's earned every day. And if someone shows you they're capable of lying and cheating, then you owe it to yourself too. Walk away before they drag you down with them. I won't pretend it's easy. There are still nights when I lie awake, replaying everything, questioning whether I could have done something differently. But I also know that my worth isn't tied to her anymore. It's about respecting myself and knowing I deserve honesty and loyalty. I've started rebuilding my life, small steps at first, but steady. I started focusing on my career, spending more time with family and friends, and slowly I let go of the anger and pain that once consumed me. The biggest lesson I've learned is that betrayal cuts deep, but it doesn't have to define you. You have a choice. Let it destroy you or use it as fuel to become stronger. I've chosen the latter. I may have lost her, but I gained clarity. I see now that I was settling for less than I deserved, and that I'm better off alone than with someone who's dishonest and manipulative. To anyone out there going through something similar, I'd say this: trust your gut, don't ignore the red flags, and never stay in a relationship just because you're scared of being alone. The pain will fade, the scars will remain, but you'll come out stronger. Because at the end of the day, the only person you truly have to rely on, no matter what, is yourself. And that's something I've finally started to believe again.